Hey everyone, welcome to a new video. Welcome to Floating in Dreams. Today we are going to be chatting about 10 foundations that I tried recently, which is not my usual fare, but I already announced I was going to do something like this in June when I first showed you these 10 foundations and saying that I had purchased them and that once I had given them all a whirl, that I wanted to come back on here and do a roundup video. So that's what we're doing today. Welcome if you're new here, welcome if you're a returning visitor. Thank you so very much for joining me today. Normally I chat about eyeshadow palettes. Foundations tend to be something I do more so over on the blog. So whenever I put them in a Shop My Stash, I always make a blog review. So I'll make sure to put as many links as I can in the description box down below. So if you want to see swatches, coverage, shade matching on my skin tone, all that jazz, that will be in the description box. So check that out. I love trying Estee and Catrice products in case you didn't know, and I love getting the use out of my products, so I know that some of the favorites in today's video are going to end up in my Shop My Stashes and that you will see just coming back like time and time again, because I love going back to products that I love and just really not only focusing on what's new. So when it comes to the foundations I'm showing you, are these all like the newest of the new releases? No, but these are foundations that ended up on my radar in like mostly the first half of 2021 that I purchased, and then I was like, okay, I really need to put these babies to the test to see how I feel about them. And that's why I'm coming to you today with 10 foundations plus 2 not so honorable mentions because I didn't quite like them, which is why they're not in the ranking. Because yes, these 10 foundations are going to be ranked. I don't try that many foundations, so that's why I try like a couple a year every year. Like that there were 10 here right now I thought was a bit excessive. But if you like this kind of video, then definitely let me know in a comment down below, because whenever I have like 5 of these, I could do a video like this too, I think. So that might make it actually a bit more manageable than 10. We'll see. So let me talk about the 2 not so honorable mentions first, and that's these 2. And sadly, they are also some of the more affordable things that I have for you today. So this is the Rival Hyaluron makeup, and Rival is a German drugstore brand, and a lovely subscriber sent this to me saying, I think you might like the texture of this, but I'm well aware that this lightest shade in the range, Porcelain, is probably going to be too dark for you. And as you can see, it's about 5 shades too dark. It has a very strong orange undertone on my skin too. So I did put it on my face once just to see if I'd like it. And she was right. I really like the texture of this. It's one of those like serum-y, very liquidy foundations. And I personally love those because they don't have too much coverage. They do help your skin a little bit, but they also make it look dewy and radiant. And that's what I'm always looking for in a foundation. However, as you will see with some of the other offerings today, because of my fair skin, I do struggle finding good shades very often, which is why one of the things I'm looking for in a foundation range is always a shade, and whether the lightest shade is going to be light enough for someone as fair as me. And I know some of you watching me who are also part of my Snow Angel Club are even lighter than I am, and of course also in the deeper end of the spectrum we very often find very few shades that will match people. So I think if you have like a medium skin tone, you have lots and lots of offerings, but the minute you go super pale or super dark, a lot of drugstore ranges just don't cut it, and the Rival one is sadly that as well, which is why I don't feel it's fair to even put it on the ranking today. And then next up, this is a product I already posted a review on over on my blog, so maybe you already spotted it, but Catrice just came out with the Clean ID Hyper Hydro Skin Tint, and I was like, Catrice is doing a skin tint. I'm gonna love this. As you will see in the review, I did not. I put this on my face live on camera when I did my first impression with these new Catrice products. And I have the shade, which is 002 Neutral Ivory, which is the lightest one in the range. And especially here in my neck, like I don't have much of a jawline. So whenever a foundation is just a hair too dark, it's going to show up because it goes from like flat to flat. And there's just this demarcation line of the shade not matching. I think if you have a stronger jawline, you can get away with like not having to blend it down your neck that much. But you can see in those pictures that this is far too yellow and far too dark for me. However, when I put it on my face, I felt it disappeared a lot when I tried applying it with a sponge. So I went back and I tried applying this with a brush as well as with fingers, and I ended up noticing that it applies best with a foundation brush, but it just doesn't play well with other makeup products I have found. I got the best results with this if I just put it on bare skin and nothing else. This dries down to a very powdery sort of feeling. So if you have dry skin, this is going to adhere to all of your dry patches. And if you are very oily, this is going to adhere to the oils and clump together. So I would not recommend buying this product because this clung to my primer. It became very patchy when I put powder on top. It just doesn't play well with other makeup products. So unless you're someone who doesn't wear any other makeup and all you wear is a base, then maybe this can look nice. But if you have very dry skin and you really like layering on your skincare, again, something to be very careful with, because this, it just doesn't sit well unless it's bare skin. And even then I was noticing some patching and like dryness in certain areas. So this was a hot mess. So I wanted to put it in this video to warn you, but it's not in the ranking. That's what we're getting to right now. So number 10 in this ranking today is the Fenty Beauty Eaze Drop Skin Tint. I was like, Fenty Beauty Skin Tint, I'm gonna love it because I love a lot of Fenty Beauty products. And this came out when I was still planning out my full face of Fenty Beauty. And I had their, what was it, their Pro Filter like hydrating foundation. And I didn't love that. So I was like, this is at least a newer product that I can try in that video. And this may last my declutter because it is a very light shade. So I know I can put this, like use this as a mixing shade perhaps because it is so lightweight. However, similarly to the Catrice, I find this a little too drying for me. I want something that is just much more dewy and that looks a lot more like glowy on the skin. I like my foundations to add a bit of glow, whereas this has this like semi-matte kind of finish, which is pretty at first, but I feel that after a few hours, this just doesn't look as great. Plus, because I got the shade 1, which is a little bit too light for me, I'm afraid. So 2 probably would have been better, and that's why I feel the dryness and the texture that shows up even more because the shade isn't a perfect match, which is strange because the website recommended this shade for people with the other foundation in a certain shade that I also have. And I feel it's just not a good recommendation based off of that. So yeah, this is just a little bit too pale. I can get away with it, especially now in the winter time that I am at my palest. I think it might work, but I don't want a skin tint in the winter time. I want it in the spring summer season if I'm going to wear a skin tint, to be quite fair. So that's why the Fenty Beauty it wasn't right. It didn't make me overjoyed. I didn't really want to go back to this. So I might keep it around as a mixing shade, but I don't see myself using this for like a full face makeup ever again. Number 9 then, and this is another affordable option. This is the Milani Glow Hydrating Skin Tint in the shade 110 Fair to Light. Again, I did a full face of Milani and I used it in that video. I thought, great, this is a newer product from Milani that I can try for that video. This is again the lightest shade available. It's about 3 shades too dark for me. I used this in the summertime though, and I felt again that I could get away with it, like similarly with the Fenty, like when you do the rest of your makeup and you've got your bronzer on and all that, it really doesn't look that bad, but it's got quite a strong yellow orange leaning warm undertone that greatly clashes with my cool to neutral undertone that I have going on naturally. So this needs to come in undertones for it to really work on me. I love the texture though. It was a really good texture. This is the kind of glow that I like. For some people, this may be a bit too much. So I like this product, but this goes into the number 9 spot because the shade was just totally off and I know I can't wear this ever again. And number 8 saddens me a little bit because I really enjoy the product in this Kiko Milano Insta Moisture Foundation. I spotted this quite randomly on in their store when I was shopping and I was going to do a full face of Kiko, and I was like, great, I can try this. And I finally managed to put it in a Shop My Stash and review it. I like this foundation a lot. It looks very pretty on. I wore it for a couple of weeks straight. I have this in the shade 1R, which is the lightest shade, and you can just see that this is a really good match for me. The only issue I have with this is that it has a lid and then it has a pump. Here's the issue. The pump can twist around and it needs to be just in the right spot for you to be able to pump out product, which may seem a bit petty, but I have found that because I kind of started pressing it down and I wasn't aware of the fact that I had to twist the cap as well, because it has a cap, usually you don't have that issue, then the pump is like static. But because you also have to twist the pump, and I couldn't really get it in the right position, I may have actually broken the pump, and it now no longer really works the way I'd want it to. The product inside it is really, really lovely though. However, since this is light enough for me, it may not be super light for those people who have even fairer skin than I do. So I don't think the range is super inclusive. I think it only comes in 10 shades, but the product inside it is really, really nice. So I'm a little on the fence, like, do I keep this? But then again, I have so many other foundations that I love equally that do have easier to use packaging. So that kind of, like, when I declutter my foundation collection, that's definitely something I'm gonna have to factor in, like, how easy is the product in its usage? But this was lovely on the skin. It looks really pretty on, and it's a more medium coverage. Like, it's not super duper dewy and lightweight, but it does have a really nice hydrating foundation, which I appreciated, especially right now in the winter time. So that was number 8. Now we're moving on to number 7, and this is the only like skin tint really that I tried, and also the last somewhat affordable option, I'm afraid. This is the Nabla Skin Realist Skin Tint. This is quite a lot of product. This is in the shade 1 Fair. Again, too dark, but it's not as dark and orange as the Milani. Like, you can just see that the Milani is far, far deeper than this is. So I felt that in terms of like shade, yes, it was a little bit too dark, but it wasn't annoying me like it did with the Milani or with the Fenty, where it was like, that's too light, this is too dark, not perfect. The main reason why this shade isn't perfect is because it is quite yellow toned. This needs to be more pinky toned for it to work on me, or perhaps a bit more peachy toned even. This is just a little bit too yellow, which can make me look very sickly if a foundation is too yellow, but because this is so lightweight, I can still get away with it. So out of all of the skin tints that I tried in the past year, this was my favorite one for sure. It really has a really lovely texture, and you get a ton of product in here, because this is more than your standard like 30 mils of product. This comes with 48, so it's a really good bang for your buck in terms of how much product you get. And even if you wear this every day, you can still get a lot of wear out of it. So this is definitely one that I'm interested in keeping, because in the summertime, I can definitely get away with this shade. And in the summertime is when I like to wear skin tints, as I just mentioned. It's not a product I go for right now. I just want something that's richer. But yeah, the Skin Realist from Nabla was very, very lovely. I wish it came in more shades, then this would have been even more perfect and I would have been able to rank it higher. Then number 6, which is the YSL Touche Éclat foundation in shade BR20. I bought this because I like the Owl Hour so much. It's my favorite long wear foundation, and this is supposed to be like dewier and a little bit more for every day, so I thought that would be great. They relaunched this. It used to came in like a tube kind of packaging, I believe, and it now comes with less product than it did before. I believe this is just under 30 mils actually. Yes, it's 25. So this is a very expensive foundation, I'm well aware. And do you just see that shade? This looks about 25,000 shades too dark. I bought this online. I told this story in another video before. I couldn't exchange this. That's what it boils down to. Exchanging the makeup in the Netherlands is really, really difficult. You just can't, because they need to chuck the product once you've used it. So I put this next to my BR20 All Hour shade, and I actually found that when you blend this out, the shade lightens. So this one doesn't oxidize and becomes darker when you put it on the skin. It actually looks lighter, so I can still get away with it. But because this entire buying experience has left a bit of a sour taste in my mouth, this isn't my favorite, even though the foundation is lovely, and I'm not gonna declutter this because it was far too expensive for that. I will definitely get more use out of this for sure at some point. I'll definitely use it more so in the summertime than in the wintertime because of that shade, just in case it doesn't blend or maybe it does oxidize a little bit over time. Foundation formulas can just change a little bit once you've purchased them, at least in my experience. So yeah, the Touche Éclat from YSL, really lovely, medium coverage, dewy foundation that ticks all of the boxes for me, but the shade. And the shade range differs here online from what you can get in the store as well. So the lady in the store actually said, but we don't sell that shade. I was like, why do I have that bottle? Because I ordered it from your website. So it was a whole mess. I'm not going to go into it too much, but yeah, shade ranges are... How am I going to find my shade if I can't test it in store? Then in the top 5, because that's where we're at right now, we have the Estee Lauder Futurist Hydra Rescue. This is in the shade 1N0 Porcelain, which is the same shade as I am in their Estee Lauder Double Wear Nude Fresh, which is one of my favorite foundations that I've ever tried. This seemed to be the updated version because they discontinued that, and I saw this in a lot of people's like end of year favorites at the end of 2020, so I thought I'm gonna buy this. This is the foundation that I'm wearing today, and I only actually got around to using it, like I think this was the first purchase out of all of these, and I really kept it lying around and just like not only, like I've only started using it this week, but it was lovely. It was a really, really lovely foundation. It blends really nicely into the skin. I was afraid this was going to be too dark because this shade, even though the number and the name is exactly the same as my Double Wear Nude Fresh, it's deeper than my Double Wear Nude Fresh. So I wish brands would just be consistent. Like if a shade is a shade, that it's then that number throughout your entire range. Can we do that? That would be lovely. But yeah, this is the lightest shade available in this one. So again, if you're super duper pale, it's not going to work for you. But in terms of texture, this is a great, great wintertime foundation for me. It has this really rich, creamy, hydrating texture. It doesn't look cakey. It does have a little bit more coverage, which is what I prefer in the wintertime for sure. This very much reminds me of one of my favorite foundations, which is the IT Cosmetics CC Cream. This has that same lovely, rich texture, but it's not as creamy and skincare-like as the IT Cosmetics, I would say. This is definitely more of a makeup product, whereas the IT Cosmetics has more skincare properties, so I like that as well about it. But this was lovely. I really like how it blends into the skin, how it sits onto the skin, how long wearing this is. I mean, I've worn it for like full days, like 12 plus hours, and it still doesn't look terrible on me. So this, top marks for sure, and that goes for all of the ones that are in my top 5. Actually, these all could have been number 1, but I had to make a ranking, so that's why I put this in number 5, because the shade range in this is a little questionable. Not gonna lie. Talking about questionable shade ranges, number 4. I love this product so much, but the Giorgio Armani Neo Nude True to Skin foundation is just... This was great in the summertime. Like I tried this, I think around June, July time, and it was perfect. So in terms of like skin tints, this would be my go-to for sure. Like this is what I want. It's very lightweight. It has that barely there kind of coverage, but the shade range, man, like they see, apparently they do like 20 shades, but over here in the Netherlands, most of those aren't even for sale, so I had to buy this from the UK because shade 1.5, which is what I am in this, they do, I think, 2 lighter shades. There's a 0 and a 1, I believe. It's not for sale where I live, like not online, not in store. Like with the YSL, I could at least still buy something online, but with this, it's like, it's such a big pet peeve of mine that you can find online that a brand sells so many shades, and then in your country they choose to only sell like 5. What's up with that, Giorgio Armani? You don't do it for your other foundations, but you do it for this one. Why? give a fair girl a chance, you know? But yeah, I ended up purchasing this through, I think, through Feel Unique. That's where I bought it. And I love this stuff. I really, really do. But this is not something that I can wear year round. So far we've definitely talked about things that are very seasonal for me. And my top 3 is going to exist out of foundations that I feel I could get away with no matter the circumstances, you could say. But this is a lovely, like, summertime lightweight foundation. Very nice texture. Chef's kiss. Number 3, this I just recently tried, the Forever Natural Nude Foundations from Dior. I have mine in shade 0N, and I don't know what happens, but if I buy shade 0N, I also have the Backstage Foundation by Dior in 0N, and it's my perfect shade every single time. Like, this is my skin tone. It's not too orange or yellow. It's not too pinky and cool toned. It's right smack in the middle, neutral. And that's what this girl needs. So for shade alone, like how good of a match this is, that's why this gets to go into the top 3. I believe Dior foundations tend to come in pretty good shades. Again, it can be a struggle if you live in a country like the Netherlands to actually find it, because Dior doesn't sell all of their shades in the Netherlands. But this foundation was really lovely. It is a light to medium buildable coverage. It isn't overly dewy or overly shiny like some of the other things I've talked about so far. This is really, really lovely. And it's a really good, like, standard everyday inoffensive foundation. You wear this and it's always going to look fine. I wore this to my personal training meeting, like a personal training session. I was hot, I was sweaty, and this didn't come off, it didn't crease, it didn't look cakey. This stayed put. So it's long lasting as well. So I know that my teacher heart is going to love this on like a long work day. This is going to really, really stand the test of time. So the Dior Forever Natural Skin Foundation is really lovely. I'm not sure they still sell it though, because Dior foundations, I don't know what they do with their line, but every single time I look at it, it seems like they've got something new. So I can't keep track of how new this is or how long this has been around or whether it was reformulated again. I don't know. This is just the one I have and I loved it. But there was something that I liked just a little bit more, and that was the Charlotte Tilbury Light Wonder Youth Boosting Perfect Skin Foundation with SPF 15 in the shade Too Fair. Again, not even the lightest shade available, which I like, and this is her lightweight dewy foundation that I fell in love with when I tried this over the fall time. Like in the fall, that's my favorite season to try foundations actually, because my skin isn't overly dry or overly oily because of like heat that you get in the spring summer season. So I love trying foundation in the fall time because that's when my skin is usually at its best, you could say. But yeah, Light Wonder was just, again, wore this throughout a sweaty workout class because I forgot to take off my makeup after a long day of work, and it was still looking good. For a lightweight dewy foundation, like there aren't that many lightweight dewy foundations with that kind of lasting power. The shade of this is almost spot on. It's perhaps a little bit more warm toned than the Dior, but I really, really like this. And I can't wait to try her new beautiful skin foundation. I have it. It's going in my next Shop My Stash. So that's going to be one of the foundations I want to try for my next foundation ranking, you could say. But this, so lovely. A standard in my collection for sure. And this is great for travel because there's no glass and you can just chuck this into a makeup bag and you're good to go. Another bonus point. And then we have my number 1 foundation that I tried, and I told you that these were all going to be quite expensive, but the OG Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk was one I had never tried. I bought it in the shade 3, and this was a perfect shade match. I remember going into store looking for the Neo Nude, and I had a gift voucher, and I was like, well, I might as well try this because this is so hyped up, and I want to know what this fuss is all about. And this is magic in a bottle. Whenever I wear this, my skin looks airbrushed. Like it's really your skin but better. It still looks like your skin. You're not wearing a ton of makeup. It's glowy but matte. It's long wearing, but it doesn't crease. It's magic in a bottle. It truly, truly is. And I think that this can work for a lot of different people, like different skin types as well. And this comes in heaps of shades as well. So in terms of shade range, this also takes the cake. So that's why the Armani Luminous Silk, man, it's just, oh. I remember when I started trying this, I had one other foundation to try in my Shop My Stash that month. And I just had trouble weaning myself off of this. I loved it that much. I just continuously wanted to use this and this only. And then you know, you've got a good foundation. So there you have it. Those were 10 foundations that I tried in the past, well, year, you could say. I definitely want to do more of these, so let me know in a comment down below if you would be interested in seeing videos like that. I would be curious if that's what you're looking for or not. So I am going to sign off right here. So thank you very much for watching today's video. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more by me. I make 3 new videos a week, so I hope to see you in my next video. Take care, everybody. Have a great day. Bye-bye.